We want to welcome everyone to this press conference rally for Schools and Community First. My name is Katie Bassler. I'm the president of the Salinas Valley Federation of Teachers, a CFT local representing 900 teachers here in Salinas who teach 16,000 students. I've been an educator for over 26 years, and I understand the many challenges that schools face, and we're going to be talking about this today. Schools and Community First is a statewide initiative to help reinvest in California's education system and critical local services by making large corporations pay their fair share of property tax. Our campaign is gaining momentum. We've already collected 250,000 signatures, which exceeds the 25%, which is mandated to continue this initiative. The California Federation of Teachers, the Service Employees International Union, and the California Teachers Association are proud to have built a broad, ever-growing statewide coalition that is uniting every sector and region in our state. We have roughly 500 endorsers, including educators, community organizations, labor unions, small business owners, tech leaders, elected officials, and parent groups like the PTA of California, to name a few. And our endorsers continue to grow daily. Before we hear from a few folks, I want to just give a summary of the main points of Schools and Community First and what it stands for. What Schools and Community First will do, it will reclaim an estimated $12 billion per year for K-12 schools, community colleges, and local community organizations, which would mean for Monterey County and Santa Cruz County an estimated $100 million a year. It will also invest in educating all of our kids and the vital services necessary to support our communities. It provides one of the largest tax initiatives in a generation to spur new investment in small businesses. It protects all homeowners and renters by maintaining tax protection for all residential property. It protects and exempts agriculture land. It levels the playing field for businesses that already pay their fair share. But lastly, it ensures strict accountability that the funds will reach our students and our communities. We're going to hear from some amazing professionals, and the first is Kelly Martinez. She is the president of Monterey County Central Labor Council, the union of unions, representing over 80 unions and 39,000 workers. Let's welcome Kelly.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Again, just to state, my name is Kelly Martinez, president of the Monterey Bay Central Labor Council. Our membership includes over 80 labor unions representing over 37,000 union members in Monterey and Santa Cruz counties. The Schools and Communities First initiative will help us all. Most of us want similar things: good schools for our children, a healthy family, and safe neighborhoods. Yet for more than 4 decades, many wealthy investors and big corporations have not been paying their fair share, causing California's school funding to fall behind. California now has some of the most overcrowded classrooms in the United States and some of the worst ratios of counselors, librarians, and nurses per student. While we continue to pay our fair share in taxes and invest in our children and our communities, wealthy investors and big corporations have not. 40 years, that's far too long. Schools and Communities First, again, reclaims $12 billion every year to ensure that our schools and communities have the resources to educate our children and the services to provide and support for our families. This initiative restores funding for schools, first responders, parks, libraries, public transportation, health clinics, and much more. A recent University of California Southern California study estimates that the initiative would generate more than $100 million in the Santa Cruz and Monterey Counties region. Now imagine what that funding could do to lift our schools, our students, and our communities. Let's support the Schools and Communities First initiative. Let's move our communities forward together. Please sign and support the petition and support for the betterment of our schools, students, and communities.
Thank you, Kelly. And next, we're going to hear from Jesus Valenzuela. He's the lead organizer for Building Healthy Communities in East Salinas.
Good morning, buenos dias. Once again, Jesus Valenzuela with Building Healthy Communities East Salinas. We are an organization that for many years has been organizing around the local control funding formula to make sure that schools and the students get, the money that they deserve. And over the years, we've heard a lot of stories of young children that don't often have the resources they need to thrive and to make this more vibrant and healthy community. And so we're very proud to be part of this initiative because for over 40 years, schools have not been getting the investment that they deserve. And California in the past has led the way in so many punitive practices that we are now seeing being reversed. So thanks to a lot of community organizing, thanks to a lot of resistance, we are now California that is sending a message that we do want to invest in the health of our children, that we want to dismantle 40 years of a system of racial oppression that has left our communities in a lot of poverty. And so Building Healthy Communities is very proud to be part of this effort, and we're going to be doing a lot of community organizing and door knocking to make sure that that the word gets out and that our children get the future that they deserve.
Thank you, Jesus. And next we have Nelly Vaquera Boggs. She's the president of Pajaro Valley Federation of Teachers and a middle school teacher in Watsonville. Her logo represents 1,200 educators in the Pajaro Valley Unified School District.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Nelly Vaquera Boggs, and I've been an educator for 17 years, and I'm currently the president of Pajaro Valley Federation of Teachers. We represent 1,200 educators from early childhood, K-12, and adult education. I'm here to say that it's about time. It's about time we reinvest in the students and families of California, and one way we can do that is by supporting schools and communities first, to ensure that large corporations pay their fair share. California is the 5th largest economy in the world, so there's no reason we should be 39th in per pupil spending. I've worked across the spectrum in our public schools, as an instructional assistant in special education, as an elementary school teacher, and as a middle school teacher. So I can tell you exactly what it looks like to be 39th in per pupil spending. It looks like students not having a nurse or a counselor in their school. It looks like a library with no librarian. It looks like an exodus of qualified educators who can't live where they work or have to take a second or third job to make ends meet. It looks like outdated infrastructure and crowded classrooms. And at its worst, it looks like California students not getting what they deserve so that corporations can maximize their profits. Schools and Communities First will finally close that corporate property tax loophole and reclaim $12 billion each year for our schools and local communities, so we can start to reinvest in California's future. We've heard that the opposition will spend $100 million to defeat this initiative, but they don't scare me. I taught middle school. We are asking the voters of this great state to stand with teachers, stand with students, and stand with families, and support schools and communities first. Thank you.
Thank you, Nelly. Next, we have Oscar Ramos. Oscar Ramos is from Salinas. He is the president of the Salinas Elementary Teachers Council with CTA, and that represents the Salinas City Elementary School District. Oscar?
Good afternoon. So, yes, my name is Oscar Ramos. I'm a teacher at Sherwood Elementary School here in Salinas and the president of the Salinas Elementary Teachers Council. And I'm here today because for decades our schools and communities have been on the losing end of property tax loopholes that have helped large corporate interests profit. That's not right, and we all know it. Schools and Communities First has the ability to help turn this around by reclaiming an estimated $100 million a year into Monterey and Santa Cruz counties by ending the shady schemes that big corporations use to avoid paying their fair share in property taxes. Schools and Communities First reclaims $12 billion per year statewide. By leveling the playing field, this initiative will help address the housing crisis, reinvest in vital community services, and bring much needed resources into our schools. And that is exactly what California needs right now. You probably saw the recent report that 40% of the students in Salinas are homeless. 40%. That is unacceptable. In a state that has so much, why is it that our families, many of whom hold more than one job, can't afford a place to call home? It's shameful, and we have to make big changes to ensure we do better. Our statewide coalition of schools and communities first understands the impact of the housing crisis in California, especially on our students. This initiative protects all types of residential property by exempting it from reassessment. In fact, this initiative will ease the crisis by increasing and stabilizing local government revenue to fund affordable housing, and will give commercial property owners a reason to develop their land and create housing. Our community needs that. California needs that. Our students deserve the best education we can provide, and that takes more than just the teacher in the classroom. We all hold some of that responsibility, and part of it is making sure corporations like Walmart and Disneyland pay their fair share of taxes so that our schools and communities can thrive. It's time to fix the loopholes. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Oscar. And next, we have Alicia Metters. Alicia Metters is a social worker and the vice president of SEIU Local 521 Region 2, which represents approximately 7,300 workers in San Benito, Monterey, and Santa Cruz County, including librarians, road workers, school workers, park maintenance workers, and many more public employees. Let's welcome Alicia.
In my true SEIU 521 VP of Region 2 precedents that I have set, I will start out by saying I am a proud servant for Monterey County, serving as a social worker in family child services. And I would like to say, it's just a little bit too quiet for me right now. What I'm going to say is, si se puede. 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 Because this fight is not a fight for just one person, it's a fight for all. Again, I'm proud to serve as Region 2 Vice President for SEIU 521. And why is it that we keep hearing about an economy? My colleagues, my constituents here on the platform, we have all been talking about how unfair is it that in the state of California, you can't afford to live in a home or an apartment or wherever you need to have shelter when we have the 5th largest economy in the world. That is unacceptable. And Wall Street stocks have been soaring. Employment numbers, they tell us that they're growing while unemployment shrinks. Wages have begun a slow rise, but schools and public services continue to struggle. Good economic times are supposed to help improve schools, health services, public parks, and public safety, but that hasn't happened in California. A major reason for this disconnect is that big corporations have used the California tax code to their advantage. 40 years ago, taxes on commercial versus residential property were about equal in our state. However, today, California homeowners pay 70% of all property taxes, while commercial property owners are down to 30%. Now you tell me who can afford to pay more than the homeowners and than the commercial big wigs. Schools and Communities First is not a new tax. It will leave homeowners alone. And maybe it'll leave some folks alone who want to buy a home. What the initiative will do is make corporations with property over $3 million pay taxes at assessed fair market value. That's the way it's done in most states. California is always different. Big commercial property will be assessed every 3 years and the tax rates adjusted accordingly. That's simple and it's fair. With that simple and fair change, we can prioritize schools and communities first. In Monterey County, every year we can expect more than $65 million extra in commercial property tax revenue, 40% distributed to schools and the rest to public services like health, housing, public safety, and parks. Having just been through a long negotiation for a county contract, I can tell you that $1 million means a lot. It could be more than 10 needed public service jobs with benefits. $1 million could be a 1% increase in wages for all hardworking public servants in my union. That 1% can mean the difference between staying ahead of inflation or falling further behind. It could mean the difference between being able to hire new public servants or not being able to attract them. Tens of millions of dollars would mean so much to our communities in need in the Monterey Bay region. It would be a dream come true. And I can say now that I'm really kind of like tired of dreaming. I want the plan to come to fruition. What's amazing is this is a very possible dream. And again, it's a possible, we need to fight to attain it. We need registered voters to sign the Schools and Communities First petition. We need everybody to sign people up. If we do that, you know Californians are going to vote in November for schools and communities first. We have to make an investment in our children and our families who make up the great communities of Monterey County. ¡Sí se puede! 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 We can and we will.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Following is Jennifer Holmes. She's a parent, a local nurse, and a school board trustee for the Pajaro Valley Unified School District, which educates over 20,000 students in Santa Cruz and Monterey County. Jen?
Hello. So my name is Jennifer Holm, and as Katie mentioned, I have a lot of roles. I am a mother of 3. I am a nurse and a school board trustee. As a nurse, you see a lot, and there's always a few patients who stand out. This one particular day, I was caring for a woman who had many long-term complications from her history of methamphetamine use. She'd been sober for 6 months, but her recovery road was going to be a long one. We spoke about her support systems and what she had in place to stay on track. During that conversation, she mentioned that her turning point came about when she finally had access to mental health care and finally being diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. She had been struggling since she was a child, and when she used meth for the first time at 16, it was the first time she felt normal. This hit me like a gut punch, not because her story was unique. I had heard many similar stories many times before, but the timing, that absolutely was unique. You see, my youngest child had just been diagnosed with ADHD, and I saw what his whole world would be like without an adequate support system. The only reason we were able to intervene early was because of the advocacy of his first grade teacher. We all have different skill sets, and she was a very experienced teacher and recognized in the first couple of months with him what was happening. So how do we best support those who are developing that kind of assessment skill? We can have increased access to school nurses, psychologists, and socio-emotional counselors. The challenge is, as always, how do we pay for that? We are already struggling with difficult decisions on how to work with a limited budget. But Schools and Communities First provides one avenue for making this happen by closing tax loopholes that have allowed large corporations to avoid paying their fair share of property taxes. So please, any eligible voters, support this measure by signing the petition now and by voting yes in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. And last, we have Wendy Rue Askew. She's a legislative analyst for Supervisor Jane Parker for the Monterey County Supervisor District 4. Let's welcome Wendy.
So my name is Wendy Rue Askew. I'm here representing Monterey County Supervisor Jane Parker, who's home sick in bed on antibiotics, I believe. She's got access to health care. But I think it's important that we recognize that California right now has some of the most overcrowded classrooms in the United States, some of the worst ratios of counselors and school nurses and librarians per student. Meanwhile, we have our local communities who are on the front lines of big challenges, like public safety issues, housing crisis, wildfires that burn, flooding, and homelessness that it continues to grow year after year. Schools and Communities First gives California the opportunity to be a leader in innovation by educating our next generation of students so that they can compete in our global economy and find solutions to these big challenges that we face. Schools and Communities First will invest billions of dollars into our schools every year to ensure that our kids receive the world-class education they deserve and to ensure that our teachers deserve the pay that they deserve. In Monterey County, it's estimated that Schools and Communities First would generate $66 million per year. $66 million per year for our schools, for our cities, for our county. 40% of that would go to our schools to fund things like librarians and teacher pay. Additionally, California's economy is fueled by small and new businesses, and Schools and Communities First will level the playing field for businesses that pay their fair share. It will provide tax incentives to spur new investments in small business by significantly reducing or eliminating entirely the tax and equipment for California small businesses. We're here today because we care about the future of our children, we care about the future of our grandchildren, and we need the funding that Schools and Communities First will generate to solve the challenges that we face as a community. Thank you.
In closing, we want to thank everyone who came out today to hear these speakers, their stories, their passion. Schools and Community First need signatures of registered voters, and we ask you to find those who are eligible to sign the petition and support Schools and Community First for the future of California education and communities. Thank you. There are available speakers if anyone would like to ask questions. Thank you.